from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring the policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The
legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
The National Assembly is something that must be gotten right.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very warm welcome to all of our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global TV AM News, live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I'm Uyag Mofwegbe. The federal government has approved 5 billion naira for each state of the federation in form of grants and loans to alleviate the effects of the fuel subsidy removal on vulnerable Nigerians. This is part of the ongoing distribution of 5 trucks of grains, fertilizers, and other feed items as part of immediate palliative measures to each state in the country. Our correspondent has details.
Governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, stated this as part of the issues raised and agreed upon during the National Economic Council meeting preceded over by Vice President Kashim Shettima.
In order to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, the federal government of Nigeria has released 5 trucks of rice to each state last week. Furthermore, in order to cushion the effect of food shortages across the country, the federal government has approved the sum of 5 billion naira to be given to each state for the procurement of 100,000 bags of rice, 100,000 bags of rice, 40,000 bags of maize, and fertilizers.
There was no way you were going to avoid forex volatility, as it were. We just printed 22, 23 trillion naira pumped into the system with nothing to back it by way of ways and means, which was what happened under the previous regime. There is no way you will pump all of those and not expect prices, inflation, and exchange rate to give way. This is a very important point that people we must all appreciate. And so I believe that the central bank is doing its utmost and probably expecting naira stability.
The country's investments to GDP ratio, the crude oil exports and refined petroleum products have dominated Nigeria's trade structure. And also the position of the naira against major trading currencies deteriorated.
The council also expressed concerns over the refusal of over 15 states to submit the report of impact of the 2022 flood in their respective states. Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello hinted that the federal government would soon release funds to states affected by floods, while the next secretariat would embark on an on-the-spot visit to the communities.
Climate change is a reality. NEC recognized that, Nigerians recognize that has come to stay. What are states doing to mitigate against the effect? Every state is affected. And let me tell you, before any palliative or before any assistance comes from any donor agency or federal government, every state makes effort to ensure that we take the peoples off harm's way.
The council was also briefed on the state of the excess crude account for the past 1 month, which stands at $473.754 million, while the natural resource account till date stands at 115.176 billion naira.
President Bola Tinubu has said education is Nigeria's primary tool against poverty. The president also noted that his administration remains determined to embrace the prospects of digital economy and telecommunications, which he described as the future. President Tinubu, who received a delegation from global tech giant Google, said his administration would leverage digital technology to create Nigeria's desired socio-economic progress that is necessary to transform society. He called on Google to partner with the government on the use of data in the public sector to embrace service delivery. The president stated that the prospective use cases emanating from the emergence of artificial intelligence, AI, and quantum computing must be harnessed, even as he emphasized that development is achieved in stages. In a bid to create a forum for dialogue towards resolving issues surrounding the petrol subsidy removal across the state, the National Economic Council, NEC, has constituted an ad hoc committee to engage with the leadership of labor unions. The decision was reached at the 135th meeting of NEC, chaired by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, in Abuja. Our correspondent completes the report.
The committee comprises the Nigeria Governors Forum Chairman Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, Governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, Chairman of Progressive Governors Forum Hope Uzodima of Imo State, PDP Governors Forum Chairman Bala Muhammad of Bauchi State, and Abia State Governor Alex Oti. According to Governor Zulum of Borno State, the Vice President charged the committee to liaise with the leadership of labor unions in the country to find a way forward on the emerging issues and the interests of the nation.
The Council has also tasked the state to dialogue with the labor unions leadership. A committee made up of Anambra State Governor, NGF Chairman, and others have been nominated to interface with labor. The most important thing that the council has taken note is that all these palliatives that are being mentioned now are temporary solutions. Council has decided to invest on medium and longer term sustainable solutions that will ensure availability of food and non-food items in Nigeria, especially investing in commercial agriculture and also investing in irrigated agriculture. The NEC is calling on Nigerians and indeed labor to become law-abiding, as the president is determined to address the issues at hand.
While noting various interventions of the federal government across the country, the council urged states to upscale the distribution of palliatives towards alleviating the suffering of citizens, especially vulnerable groups.
President Bola Tinubu will on Monday, August 21, 2023, swearing his ministers. The event is built to hold at the State House Conference, Aso Villa in Abuja by 10 a.m. A statement on Wednesday by Director of Information Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi, says the ministers are allowed to come with 2 guests each. The scheduled arraignment of the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja on allegation bordering on 6.9 billion naira procurement fraud has been stalled due to the absence of second defendant, Sadatu Yaro. Global TV's Sharon Ajay reports that counsel to the federal government and Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Mohammed Abubakar, told Justice Hamza Muazu that Mrs. Sadat Yaro took ill in the morning, hence unable to make it to the courts.
Abubakar apologized to the court and applied for a new date for arraignment. The request for an adjournment was not opposed by Emefiele's counsel, Akinlolu Kehinde, and the counsel of Sadatu Yaro. Justice Mahazu subsequently fixed August 23rd for the arraignment. Emefiele, who entered the court with white kaftan, made frantic efforts to evade cameramen in and outside the court. While the prosecution counsel declined interview, defense counsel provided insight of what happened in the court.
The charge was filed in Lagos. in the wisdom of the complainants, the federal government of Nigeria, they decided to withdraw that charge. A ruling is being expected this morning before the Federal High Court in Lagos in respect of that application to withdraw that charge. Now they brought another charge before the FCT High Court, a 20-count charge against the same person, against the same embattled governor of the central bank, and one other person. Now, the matter was meant for arraignment this morning, but two things played out, which clearly showed that the complainant itself was not ready for the arraignment. The second defendant was not made available. The second defendant was not in court. And it is right that all the defendants in a charge must be present to take their plea. And consequently, the complainant on its own requested for an adjournment for the arraignment to be done at a later date. And so we didn't oppose that application. The arraignment will now come up on Wednesday, 23rd of this month, Wednesday 23rd.
Operative of the Department of State Service, DSS, who brought Emefiele to court under a heavy watertight security to avoid security breaches, returned him to their custody immediately after the proceedings.
The military high command says no fewer than 3 officers, 22 soldiers were killed in the state, while 7 were wounded in action by terrorists. Major General Edward Buba, Director of Defense Media Operations, revealed these are defense headquarters while keeping journalists abreast with the operational activities of the Nigerian military in the theater of operation in Abuja. Kikelamo Okere was there for Global Television.
Major General Edward Buba stated that the Nigerian Air Force helicopter that crashed in Shiroro area of Niger State had gone to the scene to evacuate the victims before it crashed. He, however, vowed that no group could attack its troops and go scot-free, adding that the 14 previously killed soldiers were in the jet during the crash.
Discover what caused the plane crash. After that, we can be sure that that will be communicated to all of us. To use superior military force to eliminate any group or groups that constitute a threat to the safety of citizens and armed forces alike. Lastly, I will say that no group will strike armed troops without injurious consequences.
The Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Edward Gaboit, called on those aiding and abetting the propaganda tendencies of terrorists by spreading the video of the alleged crashed site with gory pictures of dead military personnel to stop, saying such action can demoralize the troops.
The Nigerian Armed Forces have continued to be very open about its operations, and accidents in military operations are nothing for any military organization to be ashamed of. We're fighting an insurgency, and if anybody thinks insurgency is something that is tackled in such an easy way, then you should go back to the history books and find out how other nations have been facing the same problem. What we see in other countries is the citizens of those countries rallying around their armed forces and supporting them. But when we come back home, it's so unfortunate what we see some of our citizens do. It's as if there is a kind of joy that we derive when the armed forces have this kind of mishaps. What do we get from that? Are we going to be happy for these terrorists to come and, override our communities, take over our communities? Is that what we want? Where is it?
Speaking on the troops' operation, the Director of Defense Media Operations says during the week under review, the military neutralized 28 terrorists, arrested 92, 6 gun runners, 3 kidnappers, 6 collaborators, and 7 perpetrators of oil theft.
Troops also rescued 82 kidnapped hostages and denied oil thieves the estimated value of over 870 million naira. Troops equally recovered 108 weapons and 556 ammunition.
He noted that the ongoing operation is aimed at curtailing the activities of violent extremist groups fomenting insecurity in the country, adding that the troops will continue to respond with overwhelming military force to any group that threatens the safety of citizens and the nation forces. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News, Abuja.
United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Secretary General Rebecca Grynspan has urged African economies to key into technology-intensive global supply chains to boost prosperity. The organization made a call during the launch of a new report which highlighted that the continent could become a major exporter of higher value-added goods, creating growth, jobs, and fueling a rise in productivity and wages. Grynspan insisted that the move would offer a better future for African economies, adding that diversification is key to private sector development and employment opportunities for the continent's growing population. She highlighted factors driving the huge opportunity for Africa, to include countries and businesses seeking to diversify their supplies and reduce risk. You're watching Global TV AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the AM News returns, the Nigeria Deposits Insurance Corporation, NDIC, plans probe of failed banks directors. Details of this and more will be brought to you when we return from this short break. Thank you everyone for staying with us. This is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the AM News from Nigeria's capital, Abuja, with Uyag Mofwegbe. The Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced a foreign exchange price verification system designed for importers to have access to Forex. The Apex Bank, in a statement from its Trade and Exchange Department on Thursday night, said a price verification report from the portal is now mandatory for all form of requests, while it takes effect from August 31, 2023. The statement says, following the successful conduct of the pilot run and various trainings held with all the banks, the Central Bank of Nigeria has now announced the go live of the Price Verification Payment System, PVS. While urging all authorized dealers to inform their customers of the development, the CBN also noted any case of infraction would be appropriately sanctioned. The Nigeria Deposits Insurance Corporation, NDIC, has disclosed plans to probe directors of some failed banks in the country. Managing Director of the corporation, Mr. Bello Hassan, said this during a capacity building workshop for law enforcement agencies with the theme Effective Collaboration in the Fight Against Fraud and Financial Malpractices in Banks and Other Financial Institutions in Nigeria in Lagos on Thursday. The Managing Director, who was represented by Head Legal Department, NDIC, Henry Former, said through collaborative efforts, 12 prosecution cases are ongoing at various courts, 25 ongoing investigations with FMIU, 11 with the EFCC, and 5 concluded investigations with the Federal Ministry of Justice for advice and prosecution. While noting that banks were becoming more vulnerable to fraudsters, he said the situation increased the burden on regulators and supervisors to enhance their operational capacities. The Foreign Affairs Ministry in Germany has thrown its weight behind the European Union sanctions against Niger Republic military junta. This was disclosed by Almena Baerbock, Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs of Germany. EU foreign ministers are expected to discuss the Niger situation, including sanctions, at the meeting in Toledo, Spain on August 31, 2023. It comments posted to X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. The The Foreign Ministry on Thursday said its Minister Baerbock has held talks with African Union Chair Musa Mahamat, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and other stakeholders about the coup. More than 60 people are feared dead after a boat carrying migrants was found off Cape Verde in West Africa. 38 people, including children, were rescued with footage showing them being helped to shore, some on stretchers, on the island of Sal. Almost all those on board the boat, which was at sea for over a month, are thought to have been from Senegal. Cape Verde officials have called for global action on migration to help prevent further loss of lives. Police said the vessel was first spotted on Monday. Initial reports suggested that the boat had sunk, but it was later clarified that it had been found drifting. The wooden pirogue-style boat was seen almost off Sal, a part of Cape Verde, by a Spanish fishing boat, which then alerted authorities. The survivors include 4 children aged between 12 and 16. A spokesperson for the International Organization for Migration, IOM, said. The world's longest rail tunnel has been shut to passenger services after a derailment in Switzerland, causing damage that will take months to repair. Swiss authorities said there was no indication when the Gotthard-based tunnel would reopen. 16 carriages derailed and are still stuck inside a week after the derailment on 10 August. Opened in 2016, the Gotthard rail link took 20 years to build and cost more than $12 billion. National Swiss Rail Operator SBB Chief Executive Vincent Ducrot said on Wednesday that Gotthard was one of the safest tunnels in the world. Let's take a look at other stories for you quickly now on the AM News. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll bring you more stories. Stay with us, everyone. Time to take a look at sports for you now. The House of Representatives Committee on Sports on Wednesday pledged to wade into the crisis of unpaid bonuses to national football teams players by the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF. Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Sports, Ekene Abubakar, stated this in Abuja at a meeting with the NFF and the National Assembly Complex. The committee and the Federation agreed to work together to find lasting solutions to the recurring issue of unpaid bonuses of all national teams players. When asked to explain the issues surrounding the non-payment of Super Falcons players in their recent World Cup outing, NFF President Brian Gusau said the money owed the players would be paid as soon as the Federation received the grant from FIFA. For more on sports now, Fidelis Yegowena is standing by with an update.
Former Senator John Eno has been confirmed as the 36th Minister of Sports Development prior to the swearing-in of the new ministers on Monday.
Will the Senate approve the nomination of Senator John Owaneno, representing Cross River State, for appointment as the Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The 57-year-old former senator who hails from Cross River State represented the Central Senatorial District of Cross River State in the 8th Assembly that ran from 2015 to 2019 and was previously a member of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The one-time governorship candidate in Cross River State succeeds Mr. Sunday Dari as Minister of Sports Development. For Global Television News, Fidelix Yegowena reporting.
And Fidelix's report wraps it up here on Global Television. We are Star Times Channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using @Global TVNG and other handles as you now see on your screen. I'm Mufwebe. Thanking you so very much for watching. Global Morning continues here on Global Television. Good morning.